where it is crashing, this is where it is taking a dump on the entire system. How can I make it better? How can I do it better? That's when your value comes in, where you push. Okay, go here, go here. This is the place to learn and understand resources. This is where you should go search, do research more, all those things. That's when they will learn more. Pushing the envelope has to happen from our side. That's when they will definitely take. Well, of course, those who do not, they'll fall off. We can't help. Yes, those who fall off will fall off. But they cannot take everybody down is what I feel. So if you have anything towards that, like what is current trend, where is industry going, or what kind of research flies, or what kind of industry need is in demand, there are things like that. Welcome, please ask questions. And anything and everything, I will try to answer my best I can. I have worked personally in banking, financial services, retail, healthcare, manufacturing, and all the logistics and supply chain management, all these kinds of initiatives. And I have led teams and units in all this. And I have patent ready products in retail and financial services and compliance from legal side. So these are the areas that you can expect fairly reliable answer from me. So please, if you have any questions whatsoever.
Should I ask him data mining?
Sure.
Multi-dimensional data. You want to set your data, different enough data. What are the methods?
Okay, what techniques are you using to tag the data first to begin with? Even before that, is it structured data or unstructured data? You talk about big data or is it structured? You mean relational data. In relational data, why do you have it?
Not relational.
It is
Unstructured.
unstructured data. Within unstructured data, today you have a lot of ready-made programs that are available. Sorry, give me one second. So what kind of technology are you using to do a deep search? Number one, if you have any, if you have identified. And then what kind of nodes are there? I mean, are you trying to use big data there? What kind of data platform are you trying?
That ones I want to
Understand. So this is all when you talk about unstructured data, it can take it. By the way, unstructured is not really unstructured. It requires a structure. Even Hadoop platforms require structure. Then when you go to Hive to retrieve all the tree algorithms,
real fabric.
that's what you get ultimately. And when you pick up all the indexed structures, then you can do the deep research. That's actually a very deep algorithm that we have to talk about. Saying this in 2 lines is actually doing injustice to it. But this is the direction you can do it. All the Hive, the platform related stuff, or even if you have to warehouse it, what is the kind of procedures you write in PySpark or in Spark or things like that? That's where you go. In that direction, if you do some research, you will find it. Indexing, retrieving is the only thing that you do.
Already open research fabrics. If they are using the indexed hashing,
Indexed hashing.
is there any other
Indexed hashing is the fastest so far, as they have
as they
studied.
mentioned?
Yes, that is true. That is a better way of doing it, but it depends on the industry usage for you. Because, for example, if you want to do a deep tree retrieval based on hashtag algorithm, you would want to use it more in healthcare, not in banking, because all your banking data sets, when they are unstructured, they are all flattened. You will denormalize them and you get them into the market or the mind. One reason for that, your reporting has to be really quick. When your reporting is quick, your ultimate objective of reporting is quick, then your data comes to you. Otherwise, your application is getting into real time or real time replication using algorithms or tools will not work. Nowadays, you might have heard this, there is replication that is happening at block level. They are not replicating data or logs. Even the incremental replication is happening at the block level. Block by block, at the OS level and the data storage level, they are replicating block by block. So it is really real time or just about near real time. And you will not lose anything. Because if the block is lost, the OS monitor will know it and replicate it again. It's not a log reading and log writing when you come to storage, backup and replication. When that replication is happening, you will look at your requirement, business requirement as to how do you want to use this data model? How do you want to use this data warehouse? And then based on that, you will flatten it or expand it. You will normalize it or denormalize it. You will compress it or denormalize it. When you do that, that again is based on your platform. So if you are using a relational structure format, for example, just about 3-4 weeks ago, I was talking to a bank called Credit Suisse Responsible. They have an Oracle data warehouse. They want to move the entire thing as is into big data. When they said as is move it, it's absolutely useless because big data on the Hadoop platform is not supposed to be having all joins. And in relational databases, you have the entire structure is relationship based. Right? You have primary keys, you have integrity, you have referential, all that stuff is there. But they say we want it. It tells me immediately they are doing it just for the heck of doing it. They do not really want to leverage the big data power. The power of big data is in understanding the business requirement and appropriately designing the data structure there. And in some places, for example, when they are pushing data into the data mart, they might be getting flat files from trade compliance or from business trades and everything. They get the trade data, security trade data. That might be coming in a file. They apply all the ETL, the extraction, transformation, loading to a database and multiple tables. What are you trying? What are you telling me to do? You want me to lift the entire thing and put it on big data platform. Whereas I can use this file directly. I don't even need to spend all this, right? Because this is unstructured data. That's where my power is as big data. Why do you even want to do that? That's when they understood, oh yeah, that's true, there may be some files here. Then they start the entire project and they said, okay, you give us the effort. So everything is based on your object. What do you want to do with that data? Then comes, which algorithm do you want?
Sir, in software engineering, we will suggest any research topics.
Research.
Software engineering.
She just started the research. She needs any topic.
Okay.
She is more interested in requirement sensitization, where we could do any
Research.
that with some research, how to get the requirements or how to.
I was just about to talk only about it.
I'm interested in requirements engineering, sir, because it is a major problem today. Because if the analyst is unable to analyze the correct requirements, then it may be the reason for the most of the software failures, I think.
True, that's true.
That's
So what you can do is, there are multiple things are required. The reason why many of them are failing is because the requirements are being understood and being written as subject. I talk about my requirements. I don't know if you were there in the workshop that I conducted with the students in the morning. I told them one requirement. 10 people came up with 10 different products. It's the same requirement because everybody is processing it differently. Even when I am trying to read and understand. So you have to quantify. When you quantify, when we said we have to be objective about requirements, then more than 50% of software industry is gone out. You cannot do your research on more than 50%. There is a very small percentage. There is a percentage. What is that percentage? Legal, compliance, medical devices, pharmacy, life sciences, healthcare. These are all the areas that you can do a lot of it. Wherever there is objective data available, for example, oil and energy, how deep do you have to drill to get oil out in a particular geographical area? To do that, you will get all the longitude, latitude, all the GIS mapping will be given to you, spatial mapping will be given to you. Then you will be able to map it with the previous results with similar geographic demography. That's natural gas exploration.
So domain knowledge.
No, you will only apply to domain. See, the kind of research you wanted to do is horizontal. It's not vertical. It's not vertical at all because requirement is a requirement everywhere. Everybody has to be very objective with the requirement. That's what you are asking to do.
The case study based.
Case based. What you can do is, we recently developed a product in similar lines, but you can definitely extend that to one, natural language processing and resource planning. Two things you can extend it. What we have done is, there is a compliance project. Forget compliance, let's not talk about any domain at all. There is a project. I don't know how many people are required for that. Naturally, it's a project management problem, right? If given a requirement, somebody has to identify how many people are required for this. But it is going to be a wide guess. If I show you the requirement, you will give me 3 resources. If I show her, she might tell me 4 resources. If I look at the requirement, oh no, these guys don't even know anything, it requires 12 people. It's all subjective. Now the problem is, what is the field? So when you are asking for the requirements, you go ask for objective detail. How many functions? How many procedures? What are the interfacing points? What are the report definitions? If we are talking about a regular turnkey project, right? And if not, if it is going to be a protocol-based approach, say for example, you are talking to a manufacturer of monitors. That is your client. They have to certify that product. If you turn it around, you will see either UL or ISI or some stamp where they say this is manufactured according to certain standards. Who is certifying that? UL or ISI or some body is certifying. According to what? According to the specification. That entire specification you can ask as a requirement. Whether it's done or not. When you get them into your questionnaire, you will understand whether it is there or not, based on the protocol that is required. If I have to release a Dell monitor, launch a Dell monitor in Czechoslovakia or Croatia. Croatia standards may be very different. They might say you cannot use any carbon-based materials when it comes to a power electronic. That may be a local regulation, country regulation. That is a regulation I have to comply to it if I have to launch my Dell monitor in Croatia. Who does that? I have to make that research. First, I have to get a population of all the legal requirements that are there. Based on this, if you build an application or a system, that will be a good research candidate. You can give a score and then you can add risk to it, because even we, so much objectivizing the requirement, we are not sure whether it is really objective or not. The guy who is entering can enter a 1 against a 10 or 10 against a 10. Who is verifying it? Then you will talk about the risk. The risk is again a composite index. A composite index of the probability of the risk happening and the impact that it can give. So when we talk about that risk index, the risk index is the probability times the impact. Based on this, you already have a score. This is the user entry. From here, you add the risk index. Then you come up with a final risk adjusted score. Because there has to be a risk involved with the user entry. There is a human interaction, which means there is subjective. And by you saying, I want to elicit the right requirement, you have to neutralize the risk that is involved with the human interaction. You are neutralizing that by introducing a risk index. And then you will give a risk adjusted score. Even this is not the final objective score. Then you will give weights to everything. This will be multiplied by the weight, which is the importance and significance of this requirement. If this requirement is about conflict elements. So So let's continue the Dell monitor. Where is the plastic sheet that is being used there procured from? There are certain African countries where you are not supposed to get the plastic from. Who is subscribing to it? Is that a conflict minerals requirement? If it is a conflict minerals requirement, the weight is very high, probably 50%. Because once I come to know that there is a conflict mineral that is being used, your entire batch has to be recalled. You cannot sell that, you cannot ship it, you cannot use it anywhere. It has to be brought back, it has to be destroyed. So the risk is very high, the weight is very high, the significance of this requirement is very high. So there are so many such parameters. Because you are doing a research, it cannot be to a particular product or a product category or a particular industry also. So you will make this multi-dimensional. This is one industry. You will do a similar parameter listing for another industry. Right? This is one dimension, this is another dimension. You will have at another dimension for the local and geographical adjustment that is required for compliance. And this is going to be multi-dimensional, not just three. Because we are so far talking about only compliance. What about other requirements? Right? So based on now it is giving you a smart system. First, what do? You will start about, okay, what project do you want to do? Which industry is that? The moment you select the industry, the system will be very smart to identify what questions do I need to ask you to ensure that the requirement elicitation has happened. Finally, it gives you the requirement quality index with a confidence level. You will only say, okay, the requirement quality index is only 0.76 with a confidence level of 80 to 90%. This will reduce your risk because you are giving an outcome. This will let them know there is still 24% of other requirements that they have to catch. The requirement quality is low by 24%. You can think in similar direction to come up with a multi-dimensional matrix to ensure the elicitation has happened right, objectively. That will have some quantified results which you can take back and you can stand by your numbers. Otherwise, end of the day, it's all subjective. Well, it is at best, it's dependent on the person who understands it. That's all.
Compulsorily, it should be done by taking some case study.
You start with a case study and you will abstract it to the higher levels. Like this. You start with an industry, you start with a product. Then you increase, you abstract it to a product category. On top of it, you go to industry category. And then you add multiple industries. Then automatically that becomes multi-dimensional.
But actually, a lot of portfolio management is involved in that.
Absolutely.
Lot of portfolio, and every company has got their own database from where you are going to pick up the data that is necessary for eliciting your requirements, and you have to come out like that. That means there should be some link. She has to work in some industry or collaborate with some industry. Otherwise, it is
Nobody will.
So, how can she do it?
We have to mark it up. Instead, if we see, it is about requirement. It is pretty generic and very generic. You don't have to worry about industry data. Where you need the industry data or a particular entity data, enterprise data is if you add the next level, which is giving the resource management function. Now that this is the function, each requirement has so many subcomponents and so many micro components. Each micro component is classified into simple, medium, high complexity. Each complexity level has a certain effort that is required.
Wi-Fi active on the Wi-Fi active on the he is the person who has to CSC department
ಕಾನ್ಫರೆನ್ಸ್ ಐಟಿ ಕಾನ್ಫರೆನ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಮಾತಾಡೋದು ಸರ್ 1 2 3 4
password is only take a password deep get to do research being an academician.
But industry-based research is really tough.
It is very difficult.
And when I said you can extend it to the next level, it is more to identify what effort is involved. So you do all the classification. For one industry, for one company, there is a different number. My low complexity requirement addressing ability is, if we go by function points, maybe I can address 20 function points. But TCS might do it in 15. Infi might do it in 50. It's very different. That's when you read the industry data and enterprise data. Until then you don't. But even there, you can mark the data. You say, okay, this is the base minimum number that I have taken. You change this, everything else will change. So accordingly, you are giving your resource modeling also. By resource modeling, you mean, okay, this kind of requirement needs a pyramid of 10 people. The pyramid distribution is 10, 20, 40, 10, 20, 30, 40. 10% of leadership, 20% of middle management, 30% of designers, 40% of developers. So accordingly, if it comes as 10 people, you are already giving a team composition. You need one manager, one tech lead, two tech leads, two designers, 3 project leads, and 4 developers. That's where you are already giving the entire resource modeling. That will be a useful tool. You can call it.
Well, that depends upon the size as well. Size of the project.
So you have, when you are doing the resource mapping, you will come about only with the size. It's not easy. It again adds multiple dimensions to the entire problem set.
Our image knows some sample databases are existing. Is there any sample databases to do the research necessary?
Yeah, there is market.com, the site. MOCKED, and if it doesn't work, please ping me to Shastri. I'll refer that and I'll let you know. Mark.com has sample data sets for almost all industry groups. And it is, if I'm not wrong, it's free also. You don't have to subscribe to it to get the data. You can just download the different sets of data, multiple sets of data, and see if that fits into your model. Or you first go there, play with it for some time, understand the kind of data that you want, download the data, investigate the structure, accordingly develop your data structures. You can do it either way. You can start from your side or you can start from the available data sets also. Because see, that is money and that is not coming. No enterprise will give, no industry will give their own data. So if you have to start with data, let us start with data and identify our data structure. Yes, sir.
We are doing projects on IoT side, but as per the research oriented, how to move, we cannot able to understand. Coming to the IoT.
Outcome based.
Research oriented, how to move, we cannot able to understand.
How to move on the research. So is it industrial research or academic research? Academic research. In academic research, today, so in the morning I was talking to the students, I was showing them an implantable cell phone. Is it first possible or not? If it is possible, what is needed for it to move it? That is the academic research that we do. And in more sophistication, computer vision for machine learning, deep learning, and IoT, computer vision is the best example. And even today, there are millions of dollars of such grants coming to big universities like MIT, Harvard, and other big technical universities, Clark, everybody, on computer vision. Computer vision is still not perfect.
Platform.
Which platform?
Computer vision.
I mean, first you have to develop those algorithms to understand, and you have to give the layers. You identify the layers first. Then you give a mathematical model that can be applied to any device. You will go from model to the device, not from device to model. Model to device. You go with mathematical models that can be applied to any of these devices. See, at the end of the day, finally MIT has resolved that artificial intelligence and IoT is more related to mathematics than anything else. That research realization had happened just a couple of years ago. When they had come with that, they started saying The differential calculus that Indian schools teach is the basis of all this machine learning. So you start modeling first. From the model you go backwards. You get into the device. That's the same way you have to approach the IoT.
The patterns, from patterns we have to map that to the model. Anywhere, like how you construct classes. Before constructing classes, identify the objects. Once you identify the objects, classify it. Like that, you classify the patterns. Then you think of your devices. So it goes like your research can be identifying the patterns and grouping the patterns. అంటే అది ఎట్లా ఉంటుందంటే మన సొసైటీలో ఇట్లా చూస్తాం, ఒక ప్యాటర్న్ ఉంది, ఇట్లా ట్రాఫిక్ ఇట్లా బాగా ఇట్లా కనపడుతుంది, కానీ ఒక చోట రెడ్ లైట్ అంటే గ్రీన్ లైట్ ఉంటుంది కానీ వెహికల్స్ మూవ్ అవ్వదు. అక్కడ కొన్నాళ్ళ పాటు చూస్తాడు, అది ఒక 2 నిమిషాలు అట్లాగే ఉంటుంది, ఎవడు పోడు. అంటే వాడు ఏం చేస్తాడు, అక్కడ ఏదో ఒక స్టేజ్లో ఇంకా టైం తగ్గిస్తే చాలు అని వాడికి ఐడియా రావాలి. సో అది తీసి దాని మీద మీరు ఏం చేస్తారంటే ఒక అల్గరిథం ఏదైనా రాస్తారంటే అదే ఆటోమేటిక్ చేంజ్ అయ్యేటట్టు. ఇది ఎక్కడైనా అప్లై చేయొచ్చు. అట్లా అంటే అది ఒక సిచ్యువేషన్ బట్టి మనం చేసి తర్వాత మనం డివైసెస్కి వెళ్తాం. సిచ్యువేషన్స్ ఇప్పుడు ఇక్కడ కూడా అప్లై చేయొచ్చు. మనం రూమ్లో ఎవరైనా ఉన్నారంటే లైట్ ఇంటెన్సిటీ పెంచడం, అదే సేమ్ ప్యాటర్న్ ఇక్కడ వర్క్ అయింది అట్లా. సో లైక్ దట్
ఒక IoT and machine learning combined company. He's actually a musician and a rock star. Somebody who had come to this idea. ఏం చేశాడంటే he collaborated with a news agency, TV studio. He said, I will give you artificial intelligence based news stories. Nobody believed it. They laughed from their backsides. They said, what are you even talking? He said, no, you don't need reporters. Then he has picked up IoT devices, the cameras. He fixed them in traffic signals. In St. Louis, when there was a riot that was happening, a lot of black and police clash had happened, and they started burning vehicles. He added computer vision to the cameras. He fixed those devices. It's not just a camera, it's a device because it will give a feedback back to this camera, news feed, and picture feed, video feed, and he can control it. That's how it has become an ad. He can control it sitting remote. And he has developed a program that is machine learning, where he said, if you identify fire, while you call 911 for an emergency response, you report that in your news scroll, saying at a particular location based on the device ID, there is fire. Yes, that's a huge case study. He started doing that, and one day, even before one single car is burnt, additional troops have come and stopped the fire. So that is the practical application. With all IoT and machine learning, deep learning, artificial intelligence, these things can further be elaborated a lot. And no reporter is included because there is no reporter at all. His computer vision has identified that paper it also shows how much fire has been seen, and he gives it in pictures. How did he identify and classify that as fire? Because he has seen 3 different levels of orange color in a block of picture. Computer vision. That's what he has identified based on the color of the pictures. So that is where IoT machine
మీ ట్యూమర్ కూడా ఇది పనికొస్తుంది. ఇక్కడ ట్యూమర్ ఎంత దూరం ఉంది అంటే దాని లెవెల్స్ సేమ్ ఇదే. ఇక్కడ ఆయన ఫైర్ అంటున్నాడు, మీరు ఏమో ట్యూమర్ తీసుకుంటారు.
ఇది tumor is already in research, in progress of research, where the non-intrusive cancer detection is a very big thing in healthcare. Non-intrusive carcinogen detection. అంతకు ముందంతా ఏం చేసేవాడు, ఎక్కడైనా క్యాన్సర్ వచ్చింది అంటే ఆ పర్టికులర్ ఆర్గాన్ ఇన్సైజ్ చేసి ఆ ఇన్సెషన్లోంచి చిన్న పీస్ తీసుకొని బయాప్సీ ఎక్కడో ల్యాబ్కి వెళ్తుంది, వాడు చూస్తారు, దాన్ని 2 weeks రీసెర్చ్ చేసి ఓకే క్యాన్సర్ ఉంది లేదు అంటే 2 week 3 సెకండ్ గ్రేడ్, థర్డ్ గ్రేడ్, 4th గ్రేడ్ ఏదో చెప్తారు, అలా అడ్వాన్స్ స్టేజ్. ఇవన్నీ చేయకుండా నాన్ ఇంట్రూజివ్గా అసలు ఎక్కడ బాడీ మీద నైఫ్ పెట్టకుండా ఆ క్యాన్సర్ ఉందా లేదా అనేది డిటెక్ట్ చేయాలి. డిటెక్ట్ చేయడానికి దే రిక్వైర్డ్ సంథింగ్ లైక్ మోర్ దెన్ 50 మిలియన్ హ్యూమన్ బీయింగ్స్. 50 మిలియన్ 5 కోట్ల మంది డేటా హార్వెస్ట్ చేస్తే దెన్ దే ఆర్ ఏబుల్ టు డిసైడ్ వన్ కేస్ విత్ అ కాన్ఫిడెన్స్ లెవెల్ ఆఫ్ 75%. బికాస్ దట్స్ వాట్ ఎన్ని డెమోగ్రఫిక్ పారామీటర్స్ ఉంటాయి కదా వాళ్ళకి. ఏజ్ ఒకటే కాదు, లొకేషన్ ఒకటే కాదు, వాళ్ళు చేసే వర్క్, వాళ్ళ సిట్టింగ్ పాస్టర్స్, వాళ్ళ ఈటింగ్ హ్యాబిట్స్, స్మోకింగ్ హ్యాబిట్స్, డ్రింకింగ్ హ్యాబిట్స్, లివర్ ఫంక్షనాలిటీ, all the clinical parameters plus the dimensional data that is required as a test data set, and that's when they work on this. And they decide whether this tumor or whether this person is a subject for carcinogenic ingestion or not. That's when they release that result and they say, well, it is or it is not. If it is with 80% confidence level, then they can go for biopsy. If it is not, they don't even have to. That way they are reducing the costs. Because biopsy is a big thing. It is very expensive. People have to pay. Otherwise, insurance companies pay and they bill them back. So the entire healthcare system's cost is growing because of not unpaid insurances. They will reduce all this by the machine learning techniques. Exactly.
Yeah, all tumors are not cancers.
Exactly. But in olden days, they will know that only if it is cut and sent to labs. Now it's not anything.
ఇది మామూలు ఇండస్ట్రీలో ఈవినింగ్స్ చాలా జరుగుతాయి డిస్కషన్స్. చిన్న ఏదో కేసు వచ్చిందంటే సార్ ఆ బ్రెయిన్ స్టార్మింగ్ సెషనే చాలా డిఫరెంట్గా ఉంటుంది. ఇప్పుడు ఇట్లాగే మాట్లాడుతూ ఉంటారు.
ఇంకా చాలా డీప్గా అయిపోతుంది.
చాలా డీప్.
Disease prediction systems.
Disease prediction.
Various diseases, but I'm not able to get the data of the
Next
multiple
week,
diseases. I'm getting
you
the data
ask
of
for
liver,
problem.
heart, liver, all these things. But I don't want to
There is interest
I
already.
want to work on multiple
You get the
diseases and I
problem.
want to predict whether they will suffer from any other diseases. Like they can be having the prediction of heart attack, or they can suffer with kidney by taking various parameters. I'm not able to get the data sets. Is there any other way?
Is that for research or is it out of academic interest?
It's my
It's academic interest. I will send him a document.
పబ్మెట్ బాగానే ఉందా?
Huh?
పబ్మెట్ ఈస్ గుడ్ అవుతుంది కదా.
I will send him a
US వాళ్ళు
research
ఇస్తున్నారా వాళ్ళు?
US, UK.
ఇస్తున్నారా? ఓకే. అది ఐ విల్ టేక్ నేను
అంటే యాక్చువల్గా డిఫరెంట్
అంటే ఐఎమ్ మోర్ ఇంట్రెస్టెడ్. ఆయనకి మీరు డైరెక్ట్ ఇంటరాక్ట్ అవ్వాలని నా కోరిక. ఇప్పుడు నేను ఇవాళ ఇది తీసుకుని నేను అడిగేదానికంటే కూడా ఇఫ్ యూ రియలీ ఇంటరాక్ట్ అంటే
I'll leave my you please pass my
దానికోసం నేను ఎవ్రీ మీటింగ్ నేను ట్రై చేసేది. ఇఫ్ యూ రియలీ ఇంటరాక్ట్ మీ ఇంట్రెస్ట్ మీద వెన్ ఎవర్ హీ గెట్స్ టైమ్ బికాస్ టైమ్ ఇస్ మోర్ ప్రెషియస్.
that is my
బట్ యూ కెన్ సీ హౌ యూ గెట్
what you can do is I'll send you or you can send me I'll send you a research report. It's fresh and hot on them. I just received from one of my doctor friends yesterday and I was reading it when I was coming here in the morning, right in the morning. It's a 35-page research. It's really really good and it's survey based research. So that's why I asked you, is it for research or is it for academic interest? If it is for academic interest, you will find it really really good. It's a 35-page interest that tells you, it's of course very focused. The Southeast Asians living in the United States, how are they prone to multiple diseases? I'll send you that. I think he has given me his personal hotspot. It's connected.
ఓకే.
As soon as I go to office, hotspot connect avagane I'll send it to you. It's a wonderful research, but it's survey based.
Actually, I have searching for the different data sets everywhere, but I'm able to get only single data. I mean, single disease data sets, but I don't want single data sets. I want to collaborate. And here my thing is that I'm not able to understand what are the parameters to be considered for all particular diseases.
Very right direction you are taking because you are going by parameters, not by diseases or by the available data.
Yes.
That is very good. That is the first good step. Kaggle you will not get because that is more for visualization on focused areas. So they have to give you only single disease data sets. So you should go with the other one that I said just now, market.com or some things like that. You try there. I mean, it's again a lot of research on the internet to get them. But this report will give you insights, not necessarily the information that you are looking for. But but it will give you certain insight in terms of how they did the research and how they have classified the graphs. And they are talking about cardiovascular risk,
Yes.
kidney risk, brain risk, liver risk, all the vital parameters, and they compare that with NHWs, non-Hispanic whites. Other than Spanish ethnicity, all the whites that are living in the United States versus those living in the United States from originated or descent of Southeast Asian origin. So that classification, that's a very good read. First read that. It may not help a lot in your interest, but you may find some pointers going forward, because that has a lot of data. I was reading it in the morning. I found it really interesting.
100 marks for this cluster. Because everybody asked me this. Only 1% from this cluster.
Chaotic based security.
Chaotic based?
Security.
Chaotic based security. I have not done anything on that, but I
It's a
can
very simple.
try answering any question. What's your specific question?
It has become a new topic in the cyber security, but we didn't find any resources on that.
Please
If you
do
come
not-
across, let us know. If you come across, let us know.
Sure.
And-
Honestly, I have not come
Yes.
across anything like that. The best that we are doing still in the industry is pen testing, the penetration testing to ensure that the networks are safe. And from that, one interesting topic, digression from that is, what we have done as Galaxy is, we have a product called GX-Ray. All it does is, it's an X-ray by its name. X-ray will scan through your entire portfolio, the landscape of your systems and applications, and will tell you where wrong you are. So I do a 4+1 architectural review. I do it all the way at 5 different levels, right from system integration all the way down to data element level. At all these 5 levels, I will tell you where are all the potential loopholes, either from integration interface all the way down to a data element level. This, very recently, about a year ago, what we have done is, if you observe what I said, it stops at the application level. Or rather, it starts at the application level. But I am not going into the system level. How is the system responsible for the good or bad performance of my application? So I have to do all the ISO layers, all the 7 ISO layers. Now we have developed a product for that. That has security related implications. It's not just about ethical hacking, or it's not just about penetration testing. Vulnerability assessment, it starts right from vulnerability assessment. I assess your vulnerability, and then I plug any gaps that you might find. So if you see galaxy.com website, you'll find a product called GX Infra. If you find if you read the brochure, you will find a little more interesting information. If you have any specific questions, just send me an email, and I'll try to send you a detailed presentation. But chaotic security, I have not come across anything, I have not done anything. I'll definitely let you know if I have come across anything.
Actually, I don't want a group photo. I want a photo being like this.
Yeah, makes sense. It's a working photo. It shows the